One of the hardest financial goals you can hit in your 20s is your first $100,000. A very famous investor called Charlie Munger came out and said, do whatever you can to get to your first $100,000. I don't care if you have to use coupons, save money, sleep on the side of the road. Do whatever you can to get your first $100,000. He's a very famous investor that worked alongside Warren Buffett. And he actually said this back in 1999, which means if you consider the purchasing power and how much has changed, he's actually talking about $200,000 as purchasing power has decreased over time. One of my biggest financial goals this year is to be able to get to $100,000, and I aim to get to that number this year. I want to document what I've done so far in order to get that and give you a roadmap for if you're in your 20s getting to your first $100,000. Now, let's do some quick math. If you invest $10,000 in the market and over 1 year you get a 10% return, that's a return of $1,000. Now, $1,000 is pretty good. I mean, you can do some stuff with that. You can buy, new clothes, maybe a few small things, but it isn't exactly life-changing. And in today's world, it's starting to become not that much money. However, if you invest $100,000 and get a 10% return for the year, that is $10,000. That's a lot more money than most people are actually able to save. And that's where the returns you're getting from the market go up so much. This is known as compounding interest, and it's something which I'm really fascinated by. So if you look at this chart, you can see that getting to your first $100,000 is a lot more of a slower process on your way to $1 million. But you can see that as the market returns and as you get a compounding interest from your investments, the rate of growth continues to expand and go up faster and faster. This chart to me is really interesting because a lot of people say $100,000, it's 10% of $1 million. And that is absolutely true on an absolute level. However, if we consider it on a compounding interest level, $100,000 is actually 26% of the way to $1 million. And this is something which is really crazy for people to understand. But as your number increases and as you earn higher and higher savings, the rate of return you're going to get from your investment increases, as I explained before. And it's also why it's the hardest number to get to, because you've got no momentum on your side and there's a lot more effort that goes into getting that first $100,000. So I want to go over the roadmap that I'm using to currently get to $100,000. I'm going to first consider what are the key factors that are actually going to get you to the first $100,000. And then I'm going to go over the 3 different phases that you're going to be in on your way to $100,000, because everyone's at a different stage and that you're going to have a different strategy for each step of the way. So here are the 3 areas that I consider to be the most important in order to get into that first $100,000. The first part is 100% your income. Now, a lot of people, when we talk about $100,000, they'll talk about expenses first and saving money and being really frugal. However, I don't agree with this. It's actually the income part that's the most important, as you can scale this infinitely. This is where the most gains are made. So, I want you to think about ways that you can expand your income. Me personally, here's what I've been doing. I've got a full-time job as a consultant. I build data solutions for clients. I've also taken a second job, which makes me side income, where I'm a freelance data collector. And by using that side income, I'm able to accelerate my investments further. And then as a third thing, I'm now building a freelance business in order to expand my income further. And actually, I'm documenting it on this channel. If you want to have a look, I'll put a link somewhere up on top of the screen you can watch, and you can see how I'm building my own business. I'm documenting and I'm just putting down my learnings along the way. So if you're in your 20s and you want to follow along with me in building a freelance business and expanding your income, please feel free to, and maybe I can help you along the way. So the income part I consider to be the most critical by far. I want to bring up a chart. This is where the situation is where we're kind of in a difficult place. This is the rent to earnings chart. And what you can see is there's this massive disconnect in the world between our expenses and what we earn. And like it or not, we live in a situation where the dollar is in a collapse and the money that we earn is fake because ultimately it doesn't have any purchasing power anymore. I mean, the US government continues to print so much of it that it's just everywhere. So if there's so much of this dollar that's being printed, I think we have a right to earn ourselves a bit more of it. So look to enhance your income because in a situation where we've got a dollar crisis, where the US dollar is weakening and it continues to get printed by governments that are just irresponsible, no matter which side of the coin you look at. Second part is your investments. Currently, with the situation I'm in right now, I'm investing 50% of my income into investments. And I'm very lucky that I'm in a scenario where I can do that right now. I've been able to limit my expenses in a way where that's possible. Now, the situation again is pretty simple. I want to bring up some inflation charts for you. The reality is that by saving and sitting your money in a bank, you're losing. Look at the prices of fuel. Look at the prices of electricity. Everything around you continues to go up. Fruits, vegetables, all your necessities that are needed in life are continuing to go up. And what that means is by sitting your money in a bank, maybe earning, if you're lucky, 2.5% interest every year, you're actually losing out over time because the purchasing power of your dollar is decreasing as you sit it there. So believe it or not, in a way, this is going to be hard to understand for some people. You're actually losing money by sitting it there in a bank because it's not going to be as effective as it was before in being able to purchase stuff. The best way to be able to preserve your money is investing. And me personally, in my experience and what I'm doing, I'm looking at assets that are preserving my purchasing power. This is why I built this channel, Simply Sound Money, because I believe that's where the biggest issue in this world is right now. So the three assets that I'm interested in are ones which protect that, which is gold, silver, and Bitcoin. That's because they act as a true form of money. They're durable, they're divisible, and they're scarce in nature. So they're the three assets that I like the most. And by doing that, it means that any dollar that I'm making is going up in value. And despite what the numbers are on inflation, I'm being protected. And the third part is your expenses. Now, it still needs to be mentioned, despite the fact that I believe your income and investments are more important. But stupid expenses are going to be a killer on your journey towards 100K. They are an absolute momentum killer in your investing and in every single way. Lifestyle inflation is an absolute killer, and anytime you go and make a stupid purchase, you're just slowing down that process a lot more. So consider your expenses, look at what you're spending your money on, and be careful. I'm going to now break down the 3 phases that you need to get to in order to get to 100K. No matter what stage you're in right now, I'm going to give you a strategy that you can use going forward to get to that final destination. So we'll go through that right now together. Phase 1 is 0 to 10K. Now, this is a situation everyone's been in, so there's no worries being here. However, you need to be the most aggressive at this stage. This is where you need to get yourself sorted, get everything under control. I'm talking limit your expenses down to a minimum. I'm talking rice and beans, no stupid expenses, no going out. Get to this number and get out of this phase as quickly as possible. Work hard, get your income up, and any cent you can, put it away. Me personally, what I did was I put $2,000 away as a emergency expense fund. This is just money that I can sit on the side in case of something going wrong, in case some random expense pops up. Maybe you need to service your car, something happens, life comes at you, and you need to have some cover before you begin investing. So put a couple $1,000s aside before you begin. Then you can start to begin investing slowly, even $50 per week in the market, slowly expanding your position and beginning that investing journey. I know investing doesn't feel that amazing when you're starting off at 0 to 10K because basically it feels pointless because the returns are near minimum, but you need to start and you need to get your feet wet and just begin the process. So get out of this situation as quickly as possible and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. There's a special moment of hitting $10,000, and there's a lot more security that comes over you and you feel a lot better about yourself. Phase 2, 10 to 50K. This process is where things start to slow down a lot more. It was really quick, the process of getting out of phase 1. You were aggressive and you got to 10K as quickly as possible. The number moved really quickly in phase 1, but suddenly that number starts to slow down a lot more, and the growth from 10 to 50K tends to slow down a lot. This is where a lot of people lack patience and they get caught out. Often lifestyle inflation hits. You do stupid shit like buying a new car, like spending on a new apartment, getting new stuff. You've suddenly got a bit of extra money and you look to spend it immediately. This is where your discipline needs to continue to be there. You need to continue to push towards that goal. At this phase, phase 2, is actually when I was investing the most aggressively. Any spare money I had, I was investing and trying to stack my position as much as possible and build that investment. It's also at this stage where you begin to see some form of compounding interest returns. You know, if in a good day in the market and you can actually earn some half decent money, you might even be lucky enough to earn $1,000 every once in a week. You actually start to earn some money with investments, which is a really nice thing. So that's why I was stacking it aggressively in my investments. At the time, I was buying a lot of silver and bits of gold. They were the investments that I liked the most, and I was very aggressive. Any kind of money I could put aside, I'd put into there. However, my advice to you is invest in what you understand. Do some research and understand the investments that work for you. I understand gold, silver, and Bitcoin. If you got any questions about those investments, I don't offer financial advice, but I can give you some of my opinions in the comments below. So if you have any questions, feel free to put that out there. However, this was the phase where I believe investing is the most aggressive part, and you can actually have a really nice stash and have yourself set up for phase 3. But by the end of phase 2, you really felt like you had something put together. It really felt amazing, and you just felt like you had something to show for your work now. There's something very special about hitting your first $50,000. You're halfway there, and it's just a magical number. Phase 3, 50K to 100K. This is currently the phase I'm in right now. At this phase, temptation hits you the hardest. Suddenly, being able to buy your favorite car is now a possibility. And suddenly there's all this opportunity around you because this is some money that you can spend. And you can suddenly buy a lot of things with this. However, this is where you have to remain disciplined as you're almost there. This is the part where people often get stopped. So I'm continuing to invest all the time and continuing to put money into assets that I like and that I find undervalued. Continue to look to and build your investments. However, now you've got some opportunity to do some new things. You've got some flexibility. Look at how you can increase your cash flow. So for me personally, I've got my job. I have that side business, but now I'm also looking to build that freelance business. And now I can get inventive and try some new things because I've got some backup behind me. And with that backup, it means I can, spend a bit on my business if I need to, some new software or whatever features I need to get this business off the ground. So this is where you can explore and try some new things. So me personally, that cash flow is an area that I'm looking at very much right now. Here are some mistakes you really need to avoid in your journey from 0 to 100K, which I need to mention. Firstly, any kind of really stupid investments that aren't going to get you a return. I'm talking a new apartment, a new car, or any major expenses like that. That's a momentum killer on your journey to 100K. Remember, it's a compounding effect where as it grows, the arc is only going to get faster and faster. So don't make the stupid mistake of killing that momentum. Remember, this whole process is like pushing a snowball down a hill. However, at the start, it's really difficult to be able to do that. So don't make any stupid investments and kill that momentum. Number 2 is panic selling and selling any investments that you have when it goes down. I almost actually got out of phase 3. I was on the way to doing it. However, the market slipped and silver fell a lot. I didn't panic. I continued to hold that asset, and actually I bought more as I saw it as a buying opportunity as my investments were actually a bit cheaper. Now, looking back on it, I'm really happy I did that. The growth is continuing to come again. It won't be that long till I'm out of phase 3. Don't panic sell. This is a long run game. It's not going to happen quickly, and it's going to need a bit of work and a bit of time. We're talking potentially 2 to 3 years if you're disciplined in your process. And number 3 is not investing at all. Like it or not, we live in a world now where you have to invest. And the reason why, as I mentioned before, is we're losing purchasing power in the dollar. Inflation is the biggest hidden tax. No one talks about it. And like it or not, governments continue to lie about the numbers behind this. We hear numbers like inflation sitting at 4%, but then our grocery bills are going up more like 15, 20%. So the lies are in front of our eyes now. You need to invest to be able to cover yourself from this inflation, because it means that the money that you're working for is growing. And the thing I like, I guess, the most about investing is that every dollar you invest is like an employee that's working for you. That's how I like to look at it. And every bit of cash and every dollar that I put in is an extra employee that's working for me while I sleep, while I'm working, while I'm filming this video. And as the markets work, they're working for me as well. So I want you to think about that. Are your dollars being put to work, or are they just dying out to inflation? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I provided value to you, and I hope I'm helping you on your journey towards financial freedom. If you're in your 20s and you're looking to improve your financial situation, just financially get better, be able to increase income, invest better, and just do better with yourself. I'd love it if you commented and just asked a question. I'm more than happy to give you detailed responses right now, especially while this channel's small. If you want to see more, please like and subscribe. I'd be more than happy to help you out, and I really appreciate that as this channel continues to grow. Hope you enjoyed this video, and let's all win together.